Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's webinar. I'm Joseph Novichkov, Senior Trading Manager with GDM. It's a pleasure once more to attend and host most of all this webinar today, one of our final webinars for this month. First, ladies and gentlemen, one thing about today's topic is we're going to talk about a dual time frame scalping system. One thing to let you know at the beginning is that today's session is mostly going to be tips and tricks on the systems that we've been talking about since the beginning of this month's webinars. It's also a very good standalone system, however. I have chosen the one of the strategies that we've been using so far with the dual parabolic and along with the dual time frame system. All of this together makes a very powerful scalping system. The profits, however, on this system would be somehow smaller instead of focusing mostly on the dual parabolic system. Basically, this actually lifts a little bit more the reassurance of an accurate direction, and of course with that the decline of the risk is quite substantial. But the modest profits that we're making with this system are pretty much enough, as well as talking about a very volatile market, especially with the second and third quarter of this year, as we're talking about a lot of uncertainty coming out from UK, from Asia as well. You know, the Chinese economy is not in a very good condition so far. We're expecting some more stimulus and more easing measures from Japan as well. We're expecting the so-called Brexit event and post-Brexit market conditions to occur in the next quarter as well as we're moving very close to the exit from UK from the European Union. The conditions under which that event will occur we're yet to see. So far what we've seen this month is all of the systems that we've been talking about, they've been behaving pretty well. I've been getting a lot of satisfactory emails from a lot of our traders of the company. They're quite satisfied with the performance of these systems based on the rules that they're following strictly. Today's system, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a very quick and simple webinar. However, the exit rules on which we are taking our profits and of course the stop loss rules are going to be a little bit more different. Basically you will have two different choices on which you will be making, you know, your exits or stop loss, so on and so forth. However, speaking of stop loss and take profit, first of all, we need to see how the system generates our signals. Before we get to booking our profits, we need to see what exactly we're going to work with. What we see in front of us right now is the Euro-Dollar 5-minute chart. The time frames that we're going to focus, first time frame, 5 minutes, on which we are going to make our decisions, and of course confirming all of this on the 30-minute chart time frame. Simply, before getting to signal generation, let's have a look at the settings of the parabolic and of course the relative strength index. One of the rules that we're going to have in today's session is entry and exits. As you can see here, the levels are preset. We have the extreme conditions of 20, 80, the middle level of 50, and the default settings of 30 and 70, which are pretty much our exit signals. More of that later today. Parameters, one more time. We're getting the period of 5, as we've been talking in our previous session. The combination with the relative strength index and the dual parabolic with the dual time frame gives us enough advantage on the market to filter false signals, high accuracy above 80%, and of course profits in a matter of 5 to 6 sessions on the 5-minute chart, up to $500 to $600 on a lot. How to do that? First of all, let's plot our first technical indicator. That's the relative strength index. Then we move to the parabolic. Here we have the slow parabolic, which is 0.02 and maximum of 0.1. Of course, we mark it as in green, and of course with red, we're going to mark our fast parabolic support and resistance. This will be 0.01 with a maximum of 0.1. This is what we see on our charts. If we remember from our earlier webinar this month, we've been talking about the correlation between the two indicators, or most of all one and the same but with different parameters. We've been talking about the signals that we're getting. We also always have to have the two parabolics very, very tight, close to each other, and we don't trade when we have them far away. For a simple reason, when we have them very far away, the move is already over when the second parabolic starts occurring, and the market is already in the conditions of going sideways or reversing direction. Same conditions we have over here. As you can see, the move is not so substantial. However, it's a considerably upward direction. Also, the same conditions are met here, here, and here. But more up to this after we get through the time frames and what exactly we want to squeeze out from all of this. First, when we spoke about the dual parabolic, we're only taking the two parabolics as signals and directions. However, to use the dual time frames as an accuracy and more of all as more certainty on the market, ladies and gentlemen, we need to have the relative strength index in conditions like, let's say, this perfect condition here. First of all, we've had our relative strength index in extreme overbought conditions. However, the parabolic here is still bullish rather than the relative strength. However, imminently afterwards, we have our signal over here with the relative strength index close to the extreme conditions of overbought over here, which of course gives us our potential signal, which we're going to mark like this. Actually, we're going to mark it with the vertical line because we need to track all of this on a later stage in our 30-minute chart, where we're getting the same particular signal one session afterwards, which of course is our reassurance of direction. This is why we're using the dual time frame, in order to see whether the direction is valid, so we can keep trading in that direction, or at least so we can see the profits flowing in for the next 5-6 sessions. Why I'm saying 5-6 sessions? When we consider our exits, first we need to consider our entry is somewhere within those 2 sessions. On the 6th or 5th or 6th session, we're reaching the potential of that position, where of course we're going to cash in. This is pretty much one of the rules, which is more of a recommendation, because sometimes when we speak in terms of these kind of conditions, more of a sideways, but still we've got a signal like this one, you know, our relative strength index pointing oversold conditions. Immediately afterwards, our parabolics are reversing direction to the upside. We're taking our opportunity on the market and we're closing it on just about a few pips of profit, but still a profit. When it comes in terms of taking those profits, there are two simple ways where you can consider taking those profits, either with a relative strength index, considerably within the boundaries of 70 and 80 extreme bought conditions, overbought conditions in here, or you can just get it on a fixed pip size, let's say 10 to 15 pips of profit with about 20 to 25 pips of stop loss in conditions like these. 20 to 25 pips, somewhere in the matter of these levels down here. If you're more of a conservative side, you would consider about 20 pips of stop loss and about 10 pips of profit somewhere in the matter of these conditions over here. Still, I would prefer to exit on the rules of the relative strength index. Simply put, in a lot of ways, fixed take profit would generate in a matter of a few pips less than your preferred take profit, and of course reverse direction hitting your stop loss. So I would consider taking my profits in a matter of relative strength index, somewhere in a matter of just a few pips. 5 pips, $50 on one lot. It's not so bad for a few minutes of trade. Now, considering these perfect conditions here, however, taking the profit from here down to the 6th session over here on a 35 pips, or about $350 of profit, that would take us to the extreme oversold conditions of the relative strength index, which I would pretty much prefer to take just because of these conditions. Because sometimes when you take a direction, you know, about 10 pips of 10 to 15 pips of profit would be quite all right, but then there is more to that downside. So I would consider taking that profit with the rules of the relative strength index for a higher profit potential and less risk taking in conditions like this one, just because of these 1 or 2 pips not enough to my profit over here. And this is only 2 conditions from today. Now, speaking of which, the 30-minute chart time frame, ladies and gentlemen, gives us that assurance of our direction. And in a matter of one session, which is about 3 5-minute charts, we're getting pretty much the same amount of profit. Or if you wish to leave it for about 5 to 6 sessions, that would be pretty much the same amount of profit, because strong bearish candlestick like this one is usually followed with an inner candlestick, which is something like a doji or a hammer or a shooting star, something like this, which usually reverses direction, either hitting our stop loss or, you know, breaking even on our positions. So I'm getting here a question from one of our traders, which troubles me a little bit. The question is about the parabolics. One of our traders here is not getting 2 lines, which I don't really understand what you mean, but about those 2 lines of the parabolic. Now, those parabolics are 2 different parabolics. Let me tell you that one more time. Now, this is the slow parabolic, okay, 0.02 on 0.1, and the fast parabolic on the 0.01 to 0.1. These are 2 different parabolics. So if we're on the same page, you should be getting green and red dotted line, which are the 2 dual parabolics, which we've had this session already. And of course, if you still don't see this particular those particular parabolics, I might be able to assist you on a separate session to present this webinar. On a later stage, just provide me with your contact details and I'll be able to do so. Keeping forwards with today's session, there is one thing I need to say about today's, and mostly about this week's particular events that we're having on the market, as it's more like, let's say, not an advice, but mostly like my opinion on the matter. It's a very volatile week. We're going to see a lot of chaotic movement on the market tomorrow. So for those that are trading the majors, especially the euro dollar, the dollar yen, the pound versus the dollar, also commodities like gold and oil, we're going to see a lot of uncertainty, especially about tomorrow's ECB meeting. On the morning session, speaking of the European session, it's going to be a lot of movement, which me personally, I would stay away from some of the majors which are connected to that ECB meeting, basically on European countries and currencies. So I would mostly focus on some of the exotics which which will receive less impact from any of the resolvement of tomorrow's meeting. That's mostly my opinion. However, for riskier players, let's say, that is very good news, because we can pretty much use those scalping systems as we've been talking about this month to generate a lot of profits. Also, as a recommendation, do not trade at least a few hours around those announcements, just to be sure that your profits are secured. Well, that said, let's move a little bit backwards so we can have a look at this system with some more examples here. As we can see, this particular move on the euro didn't really met our conditions, even though the move was very significant, around 50 pips in this case. However, the signals here that we're getting are rather mixed, because our overbought conditions are getting over here. We're still in a matter of the beginning of the bullish direction, which drives the prices over here. The parabolics are rather mixed. So this system, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, can pretty much protect you from uncertainties, because these moves we saw yesterday, that was in the matter of middle of the day, somewhere around the news announcements, the fundamentals that were coming out, especially euro versus the dollar. We saw a lot of US news, pretty much very good for the United States. So we saw that in the matter of these time frames, the decline of the euro versus the dollar. Of course, that particular system is also protecting you from conditions like these. Basically, if you have taken a bullish direction, as the system suggests, in the matter of the reversal over here, at least, if not on profit, on break even, you would actually get out of the market before it reverses against you. So here also we're getting some kind of a false particular signals over here on that sideways direction. As you can see, our relative strength index is in oversold conditions, while the parabolic is giving us bearish direction, which was limited down here, and the price imminently reverses direction. It's the same over here, as you can see, way over on the signal. Our overbought conditions were over here, and not anywhere near is a good signal from the dual parabolics. Moving a little bit backwards, we're getting to the conditions that we're receiving over here. For example, we have our relative strength index down to the oversold conditions imminently afterwards around the 50 level. We're getting our parabolics reversing bullish direction one more time. And according to our system, we need to confirm with the 30-minute chart to see whether the direction is pretty much the same. The relative strength index is giving us bullish direction over here from oversold, breaking up the 30 level, bringing it to the upside with the parabolics also pointing up. This is why the dual time frame works. It's protecting you from mistakes, giving you further reassurance on your positions. Getting backward to our position over here, the potential, as we've mentioned earlier, is up on the relative strength index, as we mentioned, or somewhere on the top of this, giving us around, roughly around 10 pips of profit. So in this condition, of course, both exit rules would work. However, I would choose to use the relative strength index as an exit in all my trades with the system. Also, speaking of stop loss here, our 15 to 20 pip, you can see it's way off the chart here, not anywhere near the price hikes that are expected within the next few sessions. Condition we're getting here on these two parabolics, we can track whether this signal is valid on our 30-minute chart time frame. Here, however, ladies and gentlemen, we can see sideways direction on the 30 minutes. Our relative strength index is in oversold conditions, although our parabolics are giving us also a downward direction. Therefore, this particular case, we are staying out of it. Even though the profits, as we can see, are okay, we would make a profit, but this is only one case. So we can see from all of our teachings that every rule has an exception, but if we follow the rules at the end of the month, when we draw the line, we can see that we're always on top of any situation. Our profits are getting larger and larger every time because of these conditions, these rules that we have on these on our strategies, because this is only one case, but there are many cases. If we start backtracking the system, that we can see that in maybe 6 or 7 positions out of 10 would fail in conditions like these. So we should stick to the rules, trust the system, and of course keep making profits the right way. Let's have a look with the, this is only one currency pair, ladies and gentlemen, so let's just stick to it, see if we have a little bit more examples here. As we can see, overbought conditions on the relative strength. Imminently afterwards, our parabolics are reversing, giving us a potential of around 15 pips of profit. That's $150 on a lot in a matter of 4 sessions. That's 20 minutes on that 5-minute chart. But let's have a look on the 30, how it looks. Looks pretty good. Our relative strength index is down from the overbought conditions, giving us bearish direction. Our parabolics are giving us bearish direction, even a potential of 25 pips of profit. However, we would always stick to our earlier conditions of roughly 15 pips of profit on our relative strength, and always exiting and entering on the 5-minute chart. Now, if you wish, you can always backtrack this one on any major currencies or commodities or any other exotics that you wish to trade. I've tried it on most of it, and I have to say that it's working pretty well, as long as the conditions are met. So that's about it. Let's write down a few of the conditions, a few of the Sorry, I'm writing a little bit backwards here. The parabolic number 1 goes for parameters 0.02 against 0.1. Parabolic support and resistance 2 goes for 0.01 with 0.1. And of course, time frame number 1 is the 5-minute chart. Time frame number 2 goes to the 30-minute chart. And of course, the exiting rules. Rule number 1, which is by far my favorite. I wouldn't even compromise by just deciding anything else, is on the rules of the RSI. Was that so difficult to write it? Yes, of course it is. The RSI conditions, exit number 2, the conditions of pip-based profit and the stop loss goes on a fixed 15 to 20 pips of profit, stop loss. Those are pretty much the parameters of the system, the conditions, the rules that it's working on. Take a screenshot or just write it down. It's very ugly, I understand, but I'm writing with a mouse here, so it's not very convenient for me. I'm working on a better suggestions, probably on a spreadsheet from the next sessions, but for now we're going to stick to the usual. Also, as an announcement that I would like to make, we're getting close to our final session, which is this Friday. It's our final for July. This is the counter trend scalping system. It's very effective. It's performing beautifully. It's consistent with only 2 particular indicators. It's also, one of them is a dual indicator, of course. It's performing beautifully, to be honest. One of my favorite scalping systems, but of course always using it under the right conditions, under the right rules, is always performing as expected. It also is an announcement, next month of August, we're getting in a little bit of vacation from my department, from the trading department here. So we're going to make a small pause during the month of August. There are not going to be any webinars or any trading recommendations as you usually get. From the middle of August, somewhere around 15th to 25th of August will be the pause for the trading recommendations. The whole month will be a pause for the webinars. Everything should resume as normal as from the beginning of September. There's nothing to worry about. We're working on some new exclusive webinars. So they're going to be ready, tested for the past 6 months as usual. And you're going to be able to sign up from the beginning of the second week of next month. So that's all about the system of today. Please, of course, any questions are always welcome. If you need any kind of urgent response, go to our website. We have a pop-up chat over there, over the support department. You can always forward questions. Of course, you can always request from me or one of my colleagues from the trading department that we can assist with a system or trading plan development or any other complex questions you might have. Of course, you can always drop us an email at webinars@gdmfx.com. And of course, in our Facebook page, you can always like or rate our webinars and our services. That's all about it for today. I'll see you on Friday. Until then, keep on trading, keep on the good work. See you then. Bye-bye.